Hi! I've already made a video about how to work with epoxy resin, but I've decided to make a continuation to it and tell you how to pour resin on pictures in pendants, because there are some pitfalls to avoid. Well, yeah, from now on, I've decided that I will leave the links in the description to all the things which I use, so that you will easily find the answers to your questions, where to buy this or that thing. This time I decided to use a different resin, to get an idea what it is like and to be able to tell you, because in one shop there is one resin and in the second shop there is another one. I buy everything I need on Beats3. However, the available resin here is always different. What I can say is that I'm super satisfied with this resin, because if to compare it to Crystal 6, which is more liquid, and 9, which is thicker, this resin is universal, if you can say so. When you have just mixed two components, the resin is still liquid, and you can pour it into molds. And if you leave this resin for 2 or 3 or even 4 hours, it will gradually start hardening, and you will be able even to create an effect of a convex lens on your pendants. As usual, in this packaging you can find everything you need for work: the resin itself, a hardener, a pair of gloves, a measuring can, sticks and an instruction. Speaking about the bases, today I have an oval and a heart. I took these very shapes because even at the first stage there are some difficulties. First, we need to find the pictures, right? I print them by myself, and it's super important to do so using an inkjet printer, because the pictures made by a laser printer tend to blur or change their color. I don't remember it precisely, but what I do remember is that my experience with a laser printer was a fail. And one more important point is connected to the sizes of pictures. Quite often in stores such bases for pouring have the inner sizes in the description. This is exactly what we need. If there are no sizes, you can measure everything by yourself with the help of a ruler. If we can say so, I edit all the images in Microsoft Word. Set the size of width and height you need, and if it is a square or a rectangular, then it means that everything is ready and you can print. And if it is a circle, you need to crop it to a circle shape. The same thing with ovals. Set the size, choose the crop to a circle, and because our width and height are different, we get an oval. And for these complicated shapes as a heart, I simply print a rectangular, draw the outline on it, and then cut the heart out. It is also possible to scan the shape for fill, then crop the images in Photoshop to the size you need, select the 100% scale, and after that print it, but I have never tried this method. I print several images at once, just in case. For instance, I might cut out a picture unevenly, sometimes it happens to me, so in this case I won't need to turn on my computer again and lose time on printing. I print the images on the usual copy paper, but it's not enough, because such paper is too thin. I used to stuff some high-density sheets of paper into my printer, and sometimes I even succeeded, but now I do not torture my printer. I began to print on the common paper and then glue it to high-density paper, because if you don't do that, your picture might get wet from resin and become darker against a dark background. The density of the second sheet of paper is 240 grams per square meter. To glue these two sheets together, I use super glue called Crystal. Apply some glue to the picture and then spread it like this against the whole surface between two layers of paper. While the glue is drying, we can outline the heart. After that, cut it out. Here, the manicure scissors come in handy most of all. I've been using my scissors in art for so long that I can't call them manicure anymore. Everything is simple about the oval, but the heart must be reduced according to the inner size by the gradual cutting of the edges. You can put it inside and press a bit to get the frame of the needed size. Next, we can glue the pictures, and I will do this using the same superglue crystal. Now it's time to mix the resin. Epoxy Max resin must be mixed with the hardener in 9:4 ml ratio. However, it's too much for us, so we will divide these numbers in two and mix 4.5 ml of resin with 2 ml of hardener. Stir it well and leave it for 15 or 20 minutes to let the bubbles go out. Next, we begin to pour our resin. I apply a small layer of resin on each base. The resin is still liquid, so the bubbles quite easily go out, but sometimes bubbles may appear under the picture because some air remains there. And doing this, I avoid the possibility of getting a bubble when I will leave the resin hardening. Maybe I've complicated this idea. The thing is that while your resin is liquid, we use it to fill the surface of a picture on our base. The resin permeates there, and all the air comes out and the bubbles come out as well. Leave the resin for 2 or 3 hours, and then this very resin we pour on the same bases. But the resin is thicker, and with the help of this thickness, we create an effect of a convex lens. So we needn't worry about the situation when we leave the resin, go for a walk, and in 4 hours a bubble appears, and you can't take it away because the resin has hardened too much. Actually, I'm super serious about bubbles, and as much as possible I try to put them out. Sometimes I do this with the help of a syringe needle, because it is one use and extremely thin. I hook a bubble like this and take it out. But you should be extremely careful with these tools. Before throwing a needle into the trash, put the protective cap on it. And also protect the pendant from flecks of dust and leave it for several hours. And after that, using the same mixture of resin, we can make the lens even more convex. See how thick the resin is right now? This is the same very resin we used before. This resin will completely harden in 48 hours. The last stage is about findings. To attach the pendant to a chain, we can use simple jump rings. But I take such pretty connectors. They are called bails. By the way, instead of the jump rings, I often use links of thick chain. To my mind, it makes the construction more secure. Run the chain through. On one of the ends, I attach a lobster clasp. And on the second end, a short piece of thicker chain. It will make it easier to open and adjust the size. By the way, the faculty pendants were the first ones I've ever poured with resin. Nowadays, the pictures in bases are often protected with such cabochons. It is 1,000,000 times easier and faster, and anyone can handle it, but I think that it is unfair that such pendants with glued glasses are sold as expensive as the pendants poured with epoxy resin. These lenses are super voluminous and it's easy to distinguish them from a resin pendant, so if you buy something, notice the way the accessory is done. I hope this video was useful for you. If you have any questions, ask them. If you have any suggestions, write them. And I love you this much. Bye!